Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, we are going to be starting a new aspect of law. I want to take this opportunity to show to you that there are certain provisions in the Civil Code of the Philippines that you will find very useful in your career in the tourism and accommodation industry. So today, maraming parts ang Civil Code of the Philippines. But for the purposes of our class, I want to concentrate on obligations and contracts. Itong obligations and contracts na to, medyo masalimuot itong subject na to. But what we're going to do is we're going to divide it. Mag-start muna tayo sa obligations. I want you to understand what are obligations. So, bakit nga ba natin kailangan pag-aralan to? Simple lang. Because obligations and contracts law is important considering that lahat ng gagawin ninyo halos, papasok kayo sa kontrata. At pag pumasok kayo sa kontrata, merong kaakibat yan na obligation. You will be entering into a lot of contracts in the future. And I want you to be informed of what you are entering into para hindi kayo sasabit or the possibility na kayo ay sasabit will be minimized in the future. So, what is the consequence? Or bakit ano ba yung sasabit na sinasabi ko kanina? What is the consequence of a violation of the contract? General rule: the breach of the contract and other civil obligations will make a person liable for damages. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin, kapag meron kang obligasyon or meron kang pinasok na kontrata na meron kaakibat na obligasyon at hindi mo sinunod yung obligation na yon, you may be held liable to pay for damages, daños perwisyo. In short, maglalabas ka ng sarili mong pera dahil sa kasalanan na ginawa mo. Okay? Attorney, pwede po bang makulong pag merong civil obligations na hindi sinunod? Hindi. Because imprisonment is only a penalty for criminal cases. Ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, hindi criminal law, kundi civil law. And under civil law, ang pinag-uusapan natin this session is the law on obligations. So, ito yung dapat niyong ipasok ha. Two aspects ang pag-uusapan natin. Merong obligations law and merong contracts law. In this session, dito muna tayo sa obligations law or the law on obligations. So, let's start. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin, attorney, ng obligation? Good question. Under Article 1156 of the New Civil Code of the Philippines, obligation is a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. So, parang ang simple lang, no? One sentence. Obligation is a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Himay-himayin natin siya. Let's start first. Ano bang tinutukoy natin sa word na obligation under Article 1156? Here, we are talking about a civil obligation. And a civil obligation is an obligation that arises from any of the following sources. Itong sources of obligation is, ang legal basis is actually Article 1157 of the New Civil Code of the Philippines. And class, write this down because these are the 5 sources of obligation I want you to remember. Isaksak nyo sa inyong utak, okay? A civil obligation arises from any of these sources. law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts or acts or omissions punishable by law, and quasi-delicts. So meron tayong 5 sources of obligation or 5 sources of civil obligation. Okay? So ano ulit yun, attorney? There are 5 sources of obligation under Article 1157 of the New Civil Code. And these are law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts, and quasi-delicts. 5 sources of obligations. So, a civil obligation, if not performed, if there is a breach by one party, the other party may generally go to court to either enforce the obligation or to compel the other person to pay for damages. So anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin nito, pag ang obligation mo is a civil obligation and malalaman mo siya kung civil obligation siya, kung nanggaling siya either sa law, sa contract, sa quasi-contract, sa delict, or sa quasi-delict. Pag ganyan ang source ng iyong obligation, civil obligation yan. And kapag yung civil obligation hindi mo sinunod, yung kausap mo dun sa obligation na yon, pwede kang ihabla sa korte. Ano yung kanyang mga remedies? Pwede niyang i-compel ka na ituloy at i-perform yung civil obligation mo, or pwede niyang i-compel na hindi mo gagawin yung obligation mo pero magbabayad ka ng damages or daños perjuicio. So ano ang general rule? Not all obligations are enforceable before the courts. Kasi, example, your obligation is to study hard kasi pinapaaral kayo ng magulang nyo or pinapaaral nyo ang sarili nyo. Sabihin natin pinapaaral kayo ng magulang nyo. Your obligation then is to study hard in school. Eh what if you don't study hard in school? Pwede ka bang ihabla ng magulang mo? Of course not, because the obligation to study hard does not emanate from any of the 5 sources of civil obligation. Meaning, hindi siya galing sa law, hindi siya galing sa delicts, hindi siya galing sa quasi-delict, hindi siya galing sa contract, hindi siya galing sa quasi-contract. Therefore, hindi siya civil obligation. And therefore, pag hindi ka nag-aral, hindi ka pwedeng ihabla ng magulang mo for daños perjuicio or for damages. Pero, hindi ka matututo. Okay? So, what I want you to take away from this slide is that not all obligations are enforceable before the courts. So, attorney, ano ba para to better understand what is an obligation, let's discuss the elements of an obligation. Here we have 4 elements. We have the passive subject, we have the active subject, we have the prestation, and we have the juridical tie. Attorney, ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Don't worry, we will discuss each and every element para klaro sa atin. Okay? So, let's start with the first element of obligations. What is the first element? A passive subject. So what is a passive subject? The person or the party who has the duty to fulfill or the duty to perform the obligation or the prestation. That, guys, is your passive subject. In other words, tinatawag natin ang passive subject as the obligor, or tinatawag natin siya as the debtor, or tinatawag natin siya as the person na may utang. Bakit siya passive subject? Because wala na siyang ibang kailangan gawin. Nabuo na yung obligation. Ang kailangan na lang niyang gawin is to perform his obligation. Gaya ng pag lumapit sa iyong kaibigan mo, and your friend borrows money from you. Tol, pahiram ako ng 500 pesos. Pag pumayag kang ipahiram siya at binigay mo yung 500 pesos, meron na siyang obligation to pay you back. To give you back 500 pesos. Therefore, wala na siyang ibang kailangan gawin kung hindi i-perform yon. Ibalik sa iyo yung 500 pesos mo on the date that you guys agreed upon. Yung may utang, therefore, is your passive subject. Let's get an example. Here, Iberica bar owner Chris placed an order of wine with Mr. Balato. So merong isang tao, si Chris, siya ay may-ari ng Iberica bar, and merong Mr. Balato. Siya yung distributor ng red wine. Chris ordered 10 boxes of red wine from Mr. Balato. So si Chris ordered, tawag siya, Mr. Balato, I'd like to order 10 boxes of red wine. Sabi ni Mr. Balato, sure, I will deliver the 10 boxes of red wine to Iberica Bar. Therefore, meron ng obligation na napag-usapan. Ang obligation is for Mr. Balato to deliver 10 boxes of red wine to Chris at Iberica Bar. Therefore, in this example, Mr. Balato is our obligor or the passive subject. Wala na siyang ibang kailangan gawin kung hindi i-perform niya yung kanyang obligation. And ano yung kanyang obligation? To give or to deliver 10 boxes of red wine. Ano naman ang active subject? The active subject is the person who has the power to demand the fulfillment of the obligation. Ibig sabihin, siya yung nagpautang, siya yung creditor o siya yung obligee. Okay? So, let's use the same example. In our example, we have Chris and we have Mr. Balato. Si Mr. Balato, siya yung passive subject. Therefore, ang active subject natin si Chris or yung Iberica bar owner. Bakit? Because ang kailangan na active subject, yan yung merong right to demand fulfillment of the obligation. Therefore, in this case, merong right si Chris na mag-demand na i-deliver ni Mr. Balato yung 10 boxes of red wine na in-order niya at napagkasunduan nila. So, when Chris says, Mr. Balato, please deliver the 10 boxes of red wine today, he is doing the act of an active subject or an obligee or a creditor. Understood? Now, third element of an obligation is what we call a prestation. It is the object or the objective of the obligation, which can either be three things: to give, to do, or not to do. Yan, tatlong lang yan ang pwedeng choices sa prestation. Para mas maintindihan ninyo, linagyan ko lang dito na ang prestation will be your mission. Ang mission mo is to give, to do, or not to do. So kung ikaw yung passive subject, ikaw yung may utang, ang iyong mission is to give back yung utang mo. In the earlier example, kung ikaw yung nag-utang ng 500 pesos, your mission or your prestation is to give back the 500 pesos you owe to your friend. So, in this case, pwede nating sabihin na magkaibang prestation ni Chris at magkaibang prestation ni Mr. Balato. Ang prestation ni Chris or ang mission ni Chris is to give payment for the 10 boxes of red wine he ordered. Ang mission niya or ang prestation niya is to give the payment. Ano naman, attorney, ang prestation ni Mr. Balato? Ang prestation ni Mr. Balato or ang mission ni Mr. Balato is to deliver, to give 10 boxes of red wine ordered by his buyer, Chris of Iberica Bar. The last one is what we call the juridical tie. Ito in Latin tinatawag tong vinculum juris or the unifying bond that binds the debtor, and the creditor. Usually, ang bond na to or ang juridical tie is derived from the sources of obligations. Ano ulit yung 5 sources of obligation natin? We have law, we have contracts, we have quasi-contracts, we have delicts or yung mga acts or omissions punishable by law, yung mga krimen. And quasi-delicts, yan, pag galing dyan ang obligation, pag any one of these 5 ang source ng obligation, then merong juridical tie na nabubuo na nagbabind kay creditor or yung active subject and the debtor or yung passive subject. Merong magtatali sa kanila together parang glue because once na merong obligation na nag-arise from any of the 5 sources, law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts, quasi-delicts, then ibig sabihin yan, meron na silang bond, meron na silang juridical tie na pag hindi sinunod ng kahit sinong party yung kanyang obligation or yung kanyang prestation, yung the other party can bring them to court to compel them, to force them to do their prestation or to pay damages. Understood? So, example tayo dito. Here in our Iberica Bar example, di ba, si Chris was the one who ordered 10 boxes of red wine. Siya kasi yung owner ng Iberica Bar. And he ordered from Mr. Balato. So therefore, dahil ang pinag-usapan nila is yung order ni Chris kay Mr. Balato is, ano tawag doon? Sale. Bumili si Chris kay Mr. Balato ng 10 boxes of red wine. So ang pinasukan nila is contract of sale. At ang contract is one of the 5 sources of obligation. Therefore, meron silang juridical tie na. Because yung contract, yung sale is a contract and a contract is one of the sources of civil obligation. Therefore, pag hindi binayaran ni Chris si Mr. Balato or hindi i-deliver ni Mr. Balato yung binayaran ni Chris na wine, pwedeng dalhin sa korte yung dalawa at dun sila magtutuos. Ano mangyayari? Kung halimbawa, hindi binayaran ni Chris si Mr. Balato, nag-deliver si Mr. Balato, pwede niyang ihabla si Chris para either pagbayarin niya ng utang or pagbayarin niya ng danyos perwisyo or damages. Ganon din si Mr. Balato. If hindi niya dineliver yung 10 boxes of red wine, pwede ni Chris isue si Mr. Balato. Either i-force niya si Mr. Balato to deliver the 10 boxes of red wine or pwede niyang hingyan ng danyos perwisyo or payment for damages. So guys, now you know why ulit-ulit ako na you should remember the 5 sources of obligation. For those na medyo nakakalimutan na, ulitin natin. The Civil Code of the Philippines under Article 1157 provides that the sources of obligation are law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts, or quasi-delicts. Ngayon, iisa-isahin natin itong mga 5 sources of obligation na ito because these are the ones that will determine kung meron bang vinculum juris or juridical tie na nabuo between the passive subject and the active subject and yung mission nila or yung kanilang prestation. So ano muna yung first source of obligation? In our case, it is the law. I want you to remember that obligations arising from law are never presumed. Hindi yan ina-assume lamang na merong obligation yung law na yan. May obligation na kaakibat yung batas na yan. Hindi yan ina-assume, guys. Ang law, kailangan nakalagay dun sa batas na yon na merong obligasyon ang mga certain persons. Example, The obligation to pay taxes. Yan guys, hindi yan ina-assume na kailangan magbayad ng buwis. No. Under the National Internal Revenue Code of the Philippines o yung tax law natin, doon nakalagay ano-ano yung mga buwis na kailangan nating bayaran, kailan siya binabayaran, para sa anong bagay siya binabayaran. Lahat ng details about taxes, doon mo makikita sa tax law natin. Also, the obligation to secure license from the local government unit to operate business, hindi yan basta-basta ina-assume or presumed. Nakasulat yan ng maayos sa ating codes, okay? The obligation to register a corporation before the Securities and Exchange Commission, hindi yan haka-haka lamang. Those are not presumed obligations. An obligation requiring that corporations register before the SEC or the Securities and Exchange Commission can be clearly read in our revised corporation code. And the obligation to support a child in the future, pag kayo o ngayon kung may mga anak na kayo, if you guys have children or a child, you have the obligation to provide support, not just legal support or pera, but also emotional support. But in this case, legal support muna tayo. Yung obligasyon ninyo na mag-provide ng legal support sa inyong anak ay hindi yan presumed. Nakasaad yan sa batas clearly. Nakasaad yan sa Family Code of the Philippines. Example, despite being one of the leading hotels in Quezon City, Ilang Ilang Hotel is not paying the proper income tax. Can the BIR sue Ilang Ilang Hotel before the courts? First, tanungin natin, saan ba galing, ano ba yung prestation? To pay, to give taxes or to pay taxes. Saan galing yung obligation na yon? Sa National Internal Revenue Code of the Philippines or the law. Therefore, meron siyang juridical tie dun sa passive subject and active subject. Therefore, to answer the question, can the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR sue Ilang Ilang Hotel before the courts? The answer is yes. Ilang Ilang Hotel can and may be sued by BIR. Remember that the obligation to pay the proper income tax or the proper tax is an obligation created by one of the 5 sources of obligation, or more specifically by the law on taxes or the National Internal Revenue Code of the Philippines. Since this is a civil obligation, the active subject, BIR, yung nagpautang or yung kailangang bayaran, can go to court to enforce such obligation on the passive subject or yung may utang ng buwis, which in this case is Ilang Ilang Hotel. The next source of obligation is what we call contracts. Ngayon, pahapyaw muna nating dadaanan because I want you to understand muna ano ba yung 5 sources of obligation. In our next session, I will discuss in detail itong contracts law na to. But for now, itong gusto ko maintindihan ninyo. Contracts is defined under Article 1305 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, which states that it is the meeting of the minds between two persons whereby one binds himself, meeting of the minds of two persons wherein one binds himself with respect to the other to give something or to render some service. Yan ang contract definition. Okay? In every contract entered into by the parties, there is always an obligation to be performed. Yung obligation to be performed is what we call, again, our mission or our prestation. And ano ba yung tatlong kinds ng prestation? It's either to give, or to do, or not to do. So, some examples of obligations arising from contracts para mas klaro. Yung kaninang example natin kay Chris at saka kay Mr. Balato, a contract of sale. The vendor has the obligation to transfer ownership while the vendee has the obligation to pay a sum of money or its equivalent. So in our case earlier, si Chris na vendee or buyer at si Mr. Balato na vendor or seller. Obligation ni vendor or seller is to deliver, to transfer the ownership of 10 boxes of red wine to the buyer. Whereas the vendee or the buyer has the obligation to pay a sum of money or its equivalent to the vendor. Yan ang contract of sale. And yun yung mga respective obligations from a contract of sale. Now, next nating example, contract of loan. Kung sino yung nagpautang, ang obligation niya is bayaran yung utang niya. So one of the parties has the duty to repay his debt or his utang. Third one, contract of lease. Nagpaparenta. In a contract of lease or pagpaparenta, yung nagrerenta has the obligation to pay the rent or yung rentals. And lastly, in a contract of public transportation or contract of carriage, I'd like to discuss this one with you guys in succeeding sessions. But for now, ang contract of carriage, merong common carrier that has the obligation to carry passengers and or goods while observing extraordinary diligence. So, for now, broad strokes lang tayo. I want you guys to appreciate lang na these are examples of obligations arising from one of the 5 sources of obligation, which in this case is the second source, contracts. So, ano ulit yung 5 sources of obligation? We have law, contracts, quasi-contracts, delicts, quasi-delicts. Okay? Once a contract is perfected, I'd like you to take note na itong word na to, perfected. Once a contract is perfected, the parties, or ibig sabihin pag nabuo ang isang kontrata, napanganak ang isang kontrata, perfected. Once a contract is perfected, the parties in that contract must comply with their respective obligations. Otherwise, the non-fulfillment or yung tinatawag nating breach of contract shall give rise for the injured party to be able to have the right to file a civil case against the erring party. So, gaya na sinabi ko kanina, pag sa dalawa, pumasok sa isang kontrata, hindi ginawa nung isa yung kanyang obligation, kung yun ay contract, therefore civil obligation, pwede nitong isa, ihabla yung isa sa korte. Okay? Pag hindi niya sinunod or hindi niya ginawa yung kanyang obligation as agreed upon. Note that obligation is not equal or it is not the same as contract. Hindi ibig sabihin pwede niyong i-interchange ang obligation and ang contract. Magkaiba yan guys ha. Kasi ang obligation pwedeng galing sa kontrata. Pero not always. Whereas ang kontrata, laging merong obligation. Bakit? Because 'di ba, ang obligation, ang source niya 5. Pwedeng law, pwedeng contract, pwedeng quasi-contract, pwedeng delict, pwedeng quasi-delict. Yung contract is just one of the sources ng obligation. Pero, so ibig sabihin, pag merong contract, laging merong obligation. Pero hindi ibig sabihin lagi na pag obligation, laging galing sa contract. Dahil pwede pang manggaling sa law, sa quasi-contract, sa delict, o sa quasi-delict. Understood? So, kumbaga, sa mundo ng obligation, contract is just one of the sources. Hindi siya yung buo. Pwede siyang galing sa law, pwede siyang galing sa quasi-contract, pwede galing sa quasi-delict or sa delict. Okay? So, mas malaki ang obligation. Ang contract is just one of the sources of an obligation. Okay, tinatanong nyo, bakit sir, bakit naman tubig ang nandiyan na picture? Well, guys, ganito lang yan. I'm showing to you a picture of a spring or the source. And since we're talking about sources of obligation, I want to show you na yung pinag-uusapan natin, ito yung bukal kung saan nanggagaling ang obligation. So now we are tackling the third source of obligation, which is quasi-contracts. Ano po ba yung quasi-contracts? Well, it's a good question. Quasi-contracts is defined under Article 2142 of the New Civil Code. And it means that it is a juridical relation that arises from certain lawful, voluntary, and unilateral acts to the end that no one shall be unjustly enriched or benefited at the expense of another. So, isipin natin, okay? We have 5 sources of obligation. Law, contract, quasi-contract, delict, quasi-delict. So mag-concentrate na tayo ngayon sa contract and quasi-contract. Attorney, bakit may contract, may quasi-contract? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng quasi-contract? O ganito. Ang quasi, yung iba nagsasabi, quasi, ang ibig sabihin niyan ay almost, parang, kumbaga, parang contract, quasi-contract. Quasi-contract, almost a contract. So, quasi means is equivalent to seemingly, apparently, but not really, or almost. So, isipin nyo, almost kontrata na sana siya, pero hindi siya contract. Therefore, quasi-contract lang siya. And a quasi-contract is the juridical relation that arises from certain lawful, dapat legal, voluntary, dapat willingly ginawa, and unilateral, isa lang yung nag-decide. To the end that no one shall be unjustly enriched or benefited at the expense of another. To give a clearer example of this one, let me give you an example. Okay. Sabi ko sa inyo, before the example pala, meron pa akong gustong i-share sa inyo. Sabi ko, quasi-contract, almost a contract because wala talagang kontrata. There is no meeting of the minds between the parties. But despite this, there exists an obligation, a civil obligation on the part of one party to reimburse or pay the other due to some acts done by the latter that benefited the former. So, normally, para magkaroon ng kontrata, dapat may meeting of the minds. Pero in this case, walang meeting of the minds, hindi sila nagkasundo. Bakit? Kasi merong isa lang na nag-decide na legal to, na voluntary niya gagawin to para matulungan niya itong isa. Ito yung nag-decide lang. Hindi ito nag-aalam. Pwedeng hindi ito nag-aalam. So itong nag-decide na to, tinulungan niya ito ng kusa. Unilateral. Sarili lang siya nang nag-decide. Ang obligasyon ngayon falls on this one. Kailangan niyang i-reimburse ito doon sa nagastos niya or bayaran niya to doon sa nagastos niya kasi ayaw nating unjust enrichment or ayaw natin na one for all and all for me. Meaning, anyway, I'll cite an example later para mas maintindihan ninyo ano ba yung preventing unjust enrichment. So, example. Jay met an accident while driving his motorcycle along Camarin Avenue. Because of his injuries, Jay became unconscious. So, nawala ng malay si Jay pagkatapos ng accident niya. Leia saw how Jay met the accident. Out of pure generosity, Leia brought Jay to Dr. Mario's hospital for emergency treatment. Dr. Mario treated treated Jay back to health. Okay, so anong mga nangyari? Si Jay may motorsiklo. Na-aksidente si Jay. Sobrang yung aksidente niya, nahimatay siya. Buti na lang, nung na-aksidente si Jay, nakita lahat yun ni Leia. Dahil si Leia, naawa siya kay Jay, ang ginawa niya, dinala niya si Jay sa hospital ni Dr. Mario for treatment. So si Dr. Mario, pag-receive ni kay Jay, pinagaling niya si Jay. So, question. Is Jay liable to pay for the services of Leia? Ang sagot is no. Jay is not liable to reimburse Leia for her services kasi Leia came to Jay's aid out of pure generosity. Gusto lang maging good Samaritan ni Leia. Hindi siya papabayad. Hindi naman niya line of business yon. So, gusto lang niyang tumulong kay Jay. Therefore, hindi kailangan ni Jay i-reimburse si Leia doon sa ginastos niya pagdala kay Jay sa hospital ni Dr. Mario. How about Dr. Mario? Is Jay liable to pay for the services of Dr. Mario? Ito si Jay. Ito si Dr. Mario. Si Jay dinala ng walang malay kay Dr. Mario. So, trinity Dr. Mario kasi hospital niya yon. So, kailangan nung ayos sa si Jay, kailangan niya i-reimburse yung services na ginawa ni Dr. Mario because si Dr. Mario hindi naman niya trinit si Jay out of the generosity of his heart. Kasi hospital yan. Ang services dyan, binabayaran. Therefore, is Jay liable to pay for the services of Dr. Mario? Yes. Even if Jay was unconscious and unable to give his consent to the treatment, Jay will still be liable for the payment of the medical services rendered by Dr. Mario. This is because such service was not given out of pure generosity. In short, meron ngayong quasi-contract dahil si Jay pumunta kay Dr. Mario na unconscious pero trinity Dr. Mario. Ngayong okay na si Jay, hindi siya pwedeng mag-walk away lang. Thank you na lang, Doc. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi hindi naman yun yung services, yung medical attention, hindi yun binigay out of the pureness of heart ni Dr. Mario. So, kailangan bayaran, i-reimburse naman ni Jay yung kanyang yung ginastos ni Dr. Mario. Because, if pabayaan natin si Jay mag-walk away, Jay will be unjustly enriched. May nagastusan na si Dr. Mario, hindi pa siya na-reimburse. Ang lahat lang na nag-enjoy ng benefits, si Jay, hindi tama yon. Therefore, we have quasi-contracts under Article 2167 of the New Civil Code. Understood? Okay. Now, example again. Mark and Eva are neighbors. Mark lived in apartment door A, si Eva naman apartment door B. So magkapit-bahay sila, apartments. During the super typhoon 2 weeks ago, Mark noticed that there was a danger of flooding in their compound. So Mark proceeded to put sandbags around his apartment door to keep floodwaters at bay. He knocked on Eva's door, but no one answered. Without waiting any further, seeing that floodwaters was starting to rise, Mark likewise arranged sandbags around Eva's door to prevent floodwaters from entering her apartment. The next day, Eva returned from her vacation to find their village ravaged, as in bahang-baha lahat. Thankfully, however, hers and Mark's apartments were safe and dry from the damage of the super typhoon. So anong gustong sabihin itong example na to? Ibig sabihin magkapit-bahay daw sa apartment complex itong si Eva at saka si Mark. Si Eva nakatira sa door B, si Mark naman nakatira sa door A. Noong 2 weeks ago, there was a super typhoon. Tapos napansin ni Mark, okay, mukhang tumataas ang tubig. So ginawa niya, linagyan niya ng sandbag yung kanyang door A, para hindi pasukin ng tubig baha. Tapos na niyang gawin yung kanyang sandbagging dun sa kanyang door A. Napansin niya, walang nangyayari dun sa kanyang kapitbahay. So kinatok niya si Eva. Eva, are you there? Walang sumasagot. So ang ginawa niya, nag-decide na lang siya, sige, lagyan ko na rin ng sandbag itong Dorby. Bili ulit siya ng sandbags, ng sand. Para kay Eva, para hindi rin pasukin si Eva ng baha. So, okay. Natapos yung typhoon, tumaas yung tubig, dumating si Eva the following day, tapos na yung bagyo. Eh nakita niya, bumaha talaga dun sa buong area nila. Pero pagdating niya sa bahay, tuyo yung kanyang bahay, nakita niya may sandbags. Gawa ng kanyang kapitbahay na si Mark. Question. Is Eva liable to pay for the services of Mark? Tanong, kailangan bang i-reimburse ni Eva yung ginastos ni Mark dun sa paggawa niya ng sandbag barrier para sa kanyang apartment? The answer is yes. Article 2168 of the New Civil Code regarding quasi-contracts states that when during a fire or during storms or floods or other calamities, when property saved from destruction by another person without the knowledge of the owner, that owner is bound to pay the one who helped for just compensation. So dito, sabi ng batas, dahil may flooding, may pagbaha at na-save yung property mo, Eva, kailangan mo namang i-reimburse yung iyong kapitbahay na si Mark dahil naggastos rin yan. Naggastos rin yan para lang ma-ensure na hindi bahain yung apartment mo. Kahit wala kang consent, kahit hindi ka nagsabi na wag mo lalagyan ng sandbag, kahit wala ka doon, kahit hindi ka nag-aalam. Pag nalaman mo, the moment bumalik at nalaman mo na na-save yung property mo dahil yung kapitbahay mo tinulungan ka, i-reimburse mo naman yung kapitbahay mo. Kasi kung hindi, madadala na yan in the future. Yun lang yung gustong sabihin ng batas. And that is what you call a quasi-contract. Kasi pag hindi binayaran ni Eva, si Mark, si Eva na yung nag-enjoy na tuyo yung bahay niya, wala pa siyang gastos. Masyado naman siyang one for all and all for me. So, hindi tama yon. Therefore, an obligation can arise from quasi-contracts because we don't want unjust enrichment. Hindi fair na pagiging mayaman. Kaya, if there is an obligation arising from quasi-contract, that is enough to create the juridical tie na pwedeng if ayaw bayaran ni Eva si Mark doon sa kanyang ginastos sa pag-save ng kanyang apartment through sandbags, pwedeng ihabla ni Mark si Eva sa court for reimbursement of the costs of the sandbags. Okay? So, fourth one, delicts. Or, ano bang ibig sabihin ng delicts? Ito yung acts or omission punishable by law. In short, ito yung mga krimen. Merong criminal law na linabag, therefore, delicts. And when there are delicts, meron ka ring obligation. Because under the law or under the revised penal code of the Philippines, any person criminally liable is also civilly liable. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Pag ikaw may krimen, may offense, linabag mo, pwede ka nang makulong, may babayaran ka pang damages or civil liability. The civil liability pertains to the damages that must be paid arising from the offense or crime committed. Example, a drunk Jose stabbed his neighbor Pedro. Pedro was initially hospitalized, but soon thereafter, he died from the fatal wound sustained. Jose was arrested and was found guilty of homicide. So, ano ba nangyari dito? Meron si Jose at saka si Pedro. Jose, Pedro. Si Jose, lasinggero. Isang gabi, naglasing siya, sinaksak niya si Pedro. Si Pedro, initially, dinala sa hospital, trinit. Pero eventually, dahil sobrang pagkasaksak sa kanya, namatay siya. Therefore, si Jose was arrested and was found guilty or convicted of the crime of homicide. Here, Jose was not only sentenced to suffer imprisonment, yun yung criminal liability niya, but also Jose is under the obligation to pay for damages to Pedro. Kulong na siya, magbabayad pa siya ng damages sa pamilya ni Pedro. Bakit? Dahil si Pedro nagkaroon ng loss of income, nagkaroon ng hospitalization expenses, nagkaroon ng funeral expenses. And also, may mga emotional damages and yon, moral damages, lahat yon, ilalagay yon, i-compute yon. So therefore, yung obligation ni Jose hindi lang makulong but also magbayad ng damages. Understood? Okay. Now, quasi-delicts. And sir, bakit parang attorney parang may quasi na naman? Quasi because, again, quasi from the word quasi meaning almost delict, almost krimen. Ito ang tinatawag nating culpa aquiliana or acts or omissions that cause damage to another, there being fault or negligence, and there being no pre-existing contractual relations between the parties. Ang source natin ito is Article 2176 of the New Civil Code of the Philippines. Attorney, anong ibig sabihin ng quasi-delict? Sige. Tandaan nyo lang na in cases involving quasi-delicts or torts, the plaintiff, yung party na na-injure, complains that yung acts ng defendant was the one that caused him or her his injury. So in order to be actionable, the act should have been committed with the intention of injuring the plaintiff, or was committed recklessly or negligently, or one which, even when done with proper care, held such high risk for injury to others that it will be presumed by law to be actionable. So, paano ba ito natin explain? Let's okay, medyo in law school, medyo mas busising discussion, but in your case, I just want to emphasize na in quasi-delicts or the last source of obligation, para siyang krimen pero hindi siya krimen. Kasi na-injure yung isang party, kasalanan ng kabilang party. And kailangan lang ma-establish na yung injury na nakuha ng isang party, si A at si B. Si A na-injure. Na-injure siya kasi kasalanan ng ginawa ni B. Okay? Hindi siya krimen yung ginawa ni B. Pero in the end, na-injure pa rin si A. Therefore, ang kailangan lang gawin ni A i-establish na yung kanyang injury, kasalanan ni B. So, anong requisites? Ang requisites lang yan is, kailangan ipakita na kasalanan ni B or fault ni B or dahil kapabayaan ni B, negligence, yung first thing na kailangan i-establish. The second is, kailangan yung injury ma-establish. Yung damage suffered by the plaintiff. Nasugatan ba siya? Naputulan ba siya ng kamay? Nawalan ba siya ng bahay? Kailangan pakita yung damage. At kailangan maipakita na yung kasalanan or yung kapabayaan ni B ang reason kung bakit may injury si A. The connection or of cause and effect or the causal connection between the fault or negligence of defendant and the damage incurred by the plaintiff must be established. So yan basically quasi-delict. Bakit ko dinidiscuss ito sa inyo? Kasi I just want you to know na it exists. I don't need you to appreciate the nuances of this concept because ang gusto ko lang malaman ninyo is ito ay isa sa mga sources of obligation, and pag ito ang naging source of your obligation, civil obligation na siya. Therefore, you can bring your grievances to court. Okay? Example, sige. Example tayo. Francis, a motorcycle rider, driver, recklessly drove his motorcycle along Commonwealth Avenue at 100 kilometers per hour. And during the course of his reckless driving, he hit Mike, a crossing pedestrian. As a consequence, Francis suffered serious physical injuries. Actually, hindi to Francis, dapat si Mike. Okay, sige, ayusin natin yung example ha. Si Francis, yung nakasakay dyan sa motorsiklo na yan, medyo reckless driver. Nag-drive siya sa Commonwealth. 100 kilometers per hour, di ba 60 kph lang yung maximum speed. So 100 kilometers per hour, nag-drive siya lang Commonwealth, reckless driving. Natamaan niya yung tumatawid na si Mike. As a consequence, si Mike nasugatan, serious physical injuries, naputulan ng kamay, for example. Ngayon, pwede bang ihabla ni Mike yung nasugatan na tumatawid lang sa Commonwealth si Francis based on quasi-delict? Let us examine. Meron bang damage or meron bang injury kay Mike? Ay kay Francis? No, kay Mike, yung nagtatawid. Yes, meron. Meron bang kasalanan yung motorcycle driver? Yes, meron. Yung kasalanan ba ng motorcycle rider or driver? Yun ba yung proximate cause nung pagkaputol ng paa nung tumatawid? Yes. Therefore, yes, Mike may file a civil case of damages based on quasi-delict or culpa achilliana against the reckless driver Francis. Tandaan nyo, itong quasi-delict is parang krimen. Therefore, dahil meron rin tayong criminal case or meron tayong criminal law on reckless imprudence resulting to serious physical injuries, pwede rin ihabla ni Mike, yung tumatawid, si Francis na driver, ng criminal case. Pwede yung pagsabayin. Okay? So, Attorney, bakit kailangan natin pag-usapan pa yung quasi-delict? Parang hindi naman applicable sa amin. Well, that's where you're wrong. Because meron sa batas natin under the Civil Code na sinasabing owners and managers of businesses and establishments are liable for the negligent act of their employees based on quasi-delicts. Bakit, attorney? Kasi ganito guys ang rule, ang general rule. The general rule is, kasalanan mo, bayaran mo. One is only responsible for your own act or omission. A person will generally be held liable only for the wrongs he has committed. Itong exception ang applicable sa mga business owners or sa mga managers, especially sa mga managers in the tourism industry or kahit anong business. Paano, attorney, pagbawa, wala naman akong business, meron lang akong yaya. You may also have to understand this because even if you do not have a business, basta meron kang empleyado, this can be applied to you. Ano, attorney, yun? Good thing you asked. Okay? Kasi ang exception natin under quasi-delicts are Articles 2180 Section 4 and Article 2180 Section 5 of the New Civil Code of the Philippines. Anong sinasabi doon? Sa Section 4 sinasabi, the owners and managers of an establishment or enterprises are responsible for damages caused by their employees in the service of the branches in which the employee is employed or on the occasion of their functions. Number 5 naman states that employers shall be liable for the damages caused by their employees and household helpers or yayas acting within the scope of their assigned tasks, even though the former are not engaged in any business or industry. Klaro-klaro. if in the future you become a business owner, you become a manager of an establishment or a business, yung article, yung section 4 yung applicable sa'yo. Kung ikaw naman ay employer or ikaw ay kahit wala kang business, basta employer ka, meron kang family driver, meron kang yaya, you may be held liable under quasi-delict for under section 5. Okay? So, ibig sabihin ganito lang yan. In case the party at fault who caused the injury is an employee, kung empleyado yung naka cause ng injury, yung biktima or the injured party may file a case against his or her employer or manager. Kung yung empleyado may ginagawa na function niya and naka-injure siya, yung injured na victim, ang pwede niya habulin is yung manager niya or yung employer ng empleyadong naka-injure sa kanya. The law allows this exception even if the latter or even if the owner or the employer is not the one who has committed the act or omission that resulted to the said injury. Note though that for the case to proceed, the act or omission which caused the damage must have occurred while an employee was in actual performance of his assigned tasks or duties. Ano bang gusto natin sabihin dito? Okay. Kapag may isang empleyado, habang ginagawa niya yung kanyang trabaho, na-injure niya yung isang tao. Itong tao na to, pwede niya hablahin itong taong to for the injury or hahablahin niya yung boss niyan, yung may-ari ng business kung saan ito employed or yung manager ng business kung saan ito employed. Basta ginagawa nito yung kanyang trabaho at siya ay naka-injure ng tao, itong tao na to pwedeng ito ang hablahin or yung kanyang boss or yung kanyang business owner or yung kanyang manager. Understood? And that is provided by the law. The law makes the employer vicariously liable. Yan yung tinatawag natin sa exception na yan, vicarious liability. Hindi mo kasalanan, hindi ikaw yung gumawa, pero pwedeng ikaw yung magbayad. The law makes the employer vicariously liable on the basis of the civil law principle pater familias, or a good father of the family, for failure to exercise due care and vigilance over the acts of one's subordinates to prevent damage to another. In short, para lang siyang command responsibility ang tinuturo ng batas. Ibig sabihin, pag tao mo, kargado mo. Pag empleyado mo, sagot mo. Therefore, kung merong nag-injure yan habang ginagawa niyo yung kanyang trabaho, pwedeng ikaw na business owner or ikaw na manager ang managot. Attorney, wala na ba kaming kawala kung kami yung business owner? Parang nakakatakot na mag-business in the future or nakakatakot na maging manager in the future. Huwag kayong matakot, guys, because in the last paragraph, there is a defense provided by the same law. The defense of the owners or managers or employers in order to be relieved from liability caused by their employee can be found in the last paragraph of Article 2180 of the New Civil Code, which provides that the employer may invoke the defense that they observed all the diligence of a good father of a family to prevent the damage. Ibig sabihin lang nito, kung mangyari yon at hinahabla ka na dahil ikaw yung business owner or ikaw yung manager, meron kang depensa. Kailangan mong ipakita na nag-observe ka ng diligence of a good father of the family para ma-prevent mangyari yung aksidente. The law relieves the employer, the owner, or the manager of liability upon showing that he or she exercised the diligence of a good father of the family in the selection and supervision of his or her employees. Now, the question of diligent supervision, however, this depends on the circumstances of employment. So, ibig sabihin lang yan, merong depensa pinaprovide ang law. Pwedeng kahit ihabla ka as the business owner or ihabla ka as a manager of the employee, pwede kang hindi magbayad ng damages or ng danyos perwisyo kung mapakita mo na nag-exercise ka na good diligence, ng diligence of a good father of the family nung pagpili mo ng empleyado and pag-supervise mo sa kanya. Selection and supervision. Pag yan napakita mo na you maintained observing the diligence of a good father of the family in the selection and supervision of that employee, pwedeng sabihin ng court, dahil ginawa mo yan, ina-accept naman yung defense mo, hindi mo kailangang magbayad. So, example. Aldwin is an employed driver of Shung Hotel Incorporated. One of his functions is to pick up hotel guests for airport-hotel and hotel-airport transfers. Last month, Aldwin was scheduled to do an airport pickup of new guests, CA and CB, from Terminal 1 of NAIA. On their way back to the hotel, Aldwin fell asleep behind the wheel and hit Kevin. The latter suffered serious physical injuries. Ano ba itong example na to? Ibig sabihin lang to, si Aldwin is the driver, employed driver of Shung Hotel. So, Shung Hotel, may driver sila. At isa sa mga driver nila, si Aldwin. Ang isa sa mga function ni Aldwin as a hotel driver is yung kanyang pick-up, hotel-airport, airport-hotel transfer. Last month, merong inassign kay Aldwin, si A at saka si B. Pipick upin niya from the airport si A at saka si B. Nung na-pick up na ni Aldwin, si A at saka si B, habang papunta pa lang sa Shung Hotel, nakatulog si Alvin habang nagda-drive. Therefore, nasagasaan niya si Kevin. Ang tanong, can Kevin sue Shung Hotel for damages caused by Aldwin? Wala namang kasalanan si Shung Hotel. Ang nagmamaneho si Aldwin, pero pwede bang ihabla ni Kevin, yung biktima na nasagasaan, ang Shung Hotel? Ang sagot, yes. Under the provision of quasi-delicts, the employer, in this case Shung Hotel, is liable due to the negligence of its employee, Aldwin. Since its employee, Aldwin, was negligent while driving as part of his job, Shung Hotel may be held liable for damages. What naman is the possible defense available to Shung Hotel? Ano yung pwedeng depensa ni Shung Hotel para hindi siya pagbayarin? The corporation may raise the defense that it exercised the diligence of a good father of the family in its selection and its supervision of its employees, particularly Aldwin. If Shung Hotel can prove that it carefully scrutinized the qualifications, it studied the records, it made sure that there are certifications, and then it double-checked the experiences of the resume found in Aldwin before they hired Aldwin, and provided Shung Hotel can prove that it did regular checking and training while Aldwin was under the employment of Shung, then the courts may relieve or may say na Shung Hotel, hindi ka kailangang magbayad kay Kevin. Okay?